late last week, the English newspaper The Guardian put out their annual list of the top 100 players in the world, both men and women. On the men's side, the only American on the list is Christian Pulisic, who checked in at 95. Some U.S. fans took a glass half full view and celebrated the fact that an American was on the list, while others were angry that Pulisic was only number 95. They felt like that reflected anti-American bias. We know that topic has been in the air lately. Paramount Plus did a Pulisic documentary in which they explored that issue. How did it hit you when you saw Pulisic at 95 on this list?
Well, so first off, let's be very, very clear. When it comes to lists in the industry that we work in, and we will raise our hand, we are as guilty as anybody, they are catnip. They are designed to get you to click. They are designed to get you to talk. And they are designed at times to get you to be angry. They are designed to be ultimately provocative in that they are subjective. And yes, you can have your voters and they can be all distinguished and varied in terms of their experience, but ultimately these are humans getting together and deciding what they feel floats their boat. And so you're always going to have some disagreement. When it comes to Christian Pulisic, because we do on this podcast look through the lens of red, white, and blue color glasses, yeah, this is ridiculous. This is a farce to have him at 95. Now, I have said over the past, given where he is right now and what he is doing in Serie A and for AC Milan, that he is, in my estimation, in the top 25 players in the world right now. But I recognize that a list, especially coming from The Guardian, is going to have, like we said, an anti-American bias. And that's okay. It is kind of baked into everything American players do. And you don't want to wear it completely on your shoulder. You want to use it to motivate you. But this is ridiculous. Okay, we're talking about a player right now that has starred in Serie A, that is arguably the best player in Serie A, that is playing for AC Milan, and he's 95th. I mean, come on. And so then you do the exercise of going back and looking at the players that are ahead of him. And there are plenty of players that I certainly think you can make an argument that he is ahead of. By the way, it should be noted that, relative to America, there is one MLS player, and that would be Messi. And coming in because he's Messi, and I can understand that. But where did he come in at 12 or something like that?
27
for Messi. And so, okay, that's fine. But there are other MLS players that certainly I think can make a case for coming in the top 100, the Cuchos and stuff like that.
Yeah, no Weston McKennie, no Anthony Robinson. Those are other Americans you could have made a case for. The top 5 is Rodri 1, Vinicius 2, Haaland 3, Lamine Yamal 4, and Jude Bellingham 5, Mbappe 10, Messi 27, as you mentioned, Cristiano Ronaldo 42, Jonathan David 73. So Canada checks in with a player 22 spots higher than Pulisic. And yeah, to your point, I think England is the country where that anti-American sentiment is the strongest. And even though they say this list encompass judges from all around the world, there is an inherent English bias. And so they feel like Pulisic flopped at Chelsea. They don't hold Serie A in that high regard. And the U.S. crashed out in the group stage of the Copa America. So I think that's how they would square putting Pulisic at 95. But I do agree with you. I think he should have been higher.
You think he should have been higher than the likes of, I don't know, Cucurella?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, we don't have to go through the whole list, but
right, exactly.
If you go through it, there are plenty of guys that you could certainly make a case for Christian Pulisic being above. But listen, the moral of the story here is the U.S. is going to have to smack the rest of the world in the face to get any respect. It's going to take the U.S. making a deep run at a World Cup, or Pulisic spearheading a deep AC Milan run in the Champions League, or perhaps even an MLS team winning the Club World Cup. Something where the rest of the world has no choice but to give the U.S. respect. If it's anything on the margins, they're never going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
And it will even be begrudgingly because it's America. And again, this is not me or you complaining. This is, I think, just admitting that this is something that exists, and it has for decades and decades and decades. And players, especially when it comes to the men's side, have had to deal with it and to get over it. And at times, American players, I think, have been able to make that transition from being a good American player to being a good player who just happens to be American. And that's not easy. And Christian Pulisic did this without a doubt, and maybe better than anybody has in history. And that's why I think we can feel aggrieved that where he shows up on a list like that. And not for nothing, but just last show we were talking about Anthony Robinson and what Jedi is at that position right now. And he doesn't even show up on this list. And we can make these arguments as we go, but well done, Guardian, because not only did you get us to click, but you got us to argue. You got us to include it on the State of the Union. So well done, a piece de résistance in terms of what you did. You lived up to the list in terms of making people do what you want to do. And so we certainly have. But this is ridiculous.
And as long as we're talking about him, we should remind people Pulisic is out injured right now. Yunus Musa sidelined as well. They both missed AC Milan's 1-0 away victory over Verona on Friday. Verona, a club that is in the process of being purchased by Presidio, which is a Texas-based private equity firm. So we're going to have more American owners in Europe. So at the executive level, the United States has become a very relevant soccer nation with all these owners and all these major tournaments taking place in the United States, from the Copa America to the Club World Cup to the FIFA World Cup. But still, players and coaches not getting that respect.
And look, this gets deep into the psyche of soccer in the world. And let's be honest, when it comes to what I feel is the greatest country in the world, that elicits, plenty of jealousy. Okay. And I get it. There is baggage that we have as America in terms of what we have done over the years. And when it comes to soccer, and we see this oftentimes, especially when we talk about it in the context of CONCACAF, the one thing, oftentimes the only thing that some of these countries can hold over the United States is on the soccer field. And they have had that for so long. And if at times we come as the United States and we take that away, look, they're not going to go down without a fight, and they are going to hold on to those bias, even though they might be historic and even though they might be changing. And so I get it. I understand. It used to be, the British are coming. Well, the Americans are coming. And as you mentioned, whether it's on the field in terms of the players that we have, whether it's the influence of the game in terms of the World Cups that we host and the way that the world kind of comes to U.S. shores now to host these tournaments, or whether it's the ownership out there when it comes to American ownership out there. But there's always yes, but they're American. And it's always... you can always see that there's a little bit, for lack of a better word, a little bit of disdain, because what you are ultimately doing is giving back something that you have had for so long, or not even giving it back, just sharing it. And that you're sharing it with something is one thing, but having to share it with Americans, for some people, that's a bridge too far.
Now, no such issues on the women's side, because when you look at that list, 5 of the top 10 are Americans. Aitana Bonmatí, number 1, Caroline Graham Hansen, number 2, but then Sophia Smith, 3, Trinity Rodman, 5, Lindsay Horan, 6, Mal Swanson, 9, and Naomi Girma, 10. So the U.S. women getting plenty of respect from The Guardian.
Yeah, so this is where I can argue within the U.S. framework, because Naomi Girma, who we have talked about over the last couple of years and has come on and established herself as, in pen in the lineup, and as important as anybody out there. And I understand that attacking players are going to get a lot of the love in a lot of these lists. And I get that. And I've told you many, many times about the value of scoring goals. But I can argue that Naomi Girma, in the position that she plays, is better and more important than the Sophia Smiths, than the Trinity Rodmans, than the Lindsay Horans. And she has done it now consistently for a number of years. So Naomi Girma at 10, I can argue that that's much too low, I guess it would be, if you're looking at it 1 to 10 here, and that she should be ahead of others out there. By the way, Mosse, I don't know if you saw, but somebody had asked me about the best players out there and the best American soccer players out there, and because they had watched the Hope Solo documentary. And I answered and said, yes, I can absolutely make an argument that Hope Solo, because of how good she was and how much better she was than everybody else at her specific position at that time, I can argue that she is the best American soccer player, man or woman, that has played in history. And who knows? Maybe Naomi Girma will go down as we get further and further. But I think that she should be higher than number 10. And
I agree with you on Girma. And on the goalkeeper front, Alyssa Nair was 28 on this list. one spot after Marta, which is interesting. Rose Lavelle, 45, and then the likes of Alyssa Thompson, Lynn Williams also included. So the U.S. women did get plenty of love from The Guardian in that list.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.